Great. Hello, everybody. My name is Zimmerman at the University of Essex. On behalf of myself and my co-authors, thank you for taking the time to join our presentation where we introduce simple methods to better protect your privacy and, in some cases, avoid misinformation. Bit of motivation, we look at medical search tasks in our paper. That's a major focus. As we are aware, medical search has concerns around privacy if that information were to get leaked out. There's, and perhaps even more importantly, is the concerns around misinformation. If you get the wrong information, you can have very bad medical outcomes. So taking this search task, benzodiazepines, alcohol withdrawal in Bing, and we look on one component of privacy is third-party data sharing. And these are just some of the companies for which data is shared with if you visit these websites. On the side of misinformation, the first four are wrong. They're also advertisements. But just because it's an advertisement doesn't necessarily mean it will contain the wrong information. But in this case, it does. We're interested in testing out some simple potential clues that exist in the environment rather than trying to get search companies to change. We spun this question around and asked, what if we leave the environment the same? What can users make use of already? There isn't much to go by. There's more in our paper we discussed, but these are the ones we focused on. One was HTTP protocol. The other is the top level domain. And the intuitively .org, often associated with scientific journals, it would be, it looks a promising approach, but as we've already stated, this first result is wrong, so it's not always the case. Protocol HTTP S is soon to be safer, so we just want to demonstrate that, but no formal analysis had been done on these yet. So just going into definitions, though these are not hard truths, but for our work, we use them. They are generally true. .com, .net is commercial. Nonprofit defined as .org, .gov. Websites. And we have the number of third-party trackers as one of our dependent variables. And another two other dependent variables, user search goals, where we define the highest privacy, that is if you want to maintain the highest privacy, lowest quartile of trackers, and also correct information, where the web page you visit agrees with the ground truth of the search task that you're performing at the time. And in our case, using search tasks from previous work, using Cochrane medical reviews as the ground truth. Two data sets we used. The first one is from a naturalistic study that was connected to the Bing API, where users could perform search, and then we annotated for correctness of information afterwards, or had hired annotators to do this. Third-party trackers from Ghostery plugin, whotracks.me, which is an open source site they run. And then there's the second evaluation data set, which is directly from Ghostery whotracks.me, because we wanted to demonstrate that top-level domain tested across a much wider set. So this is the 10,000 most common websites visited for people with that plugin installed. Results, number of third-party trackers. So nonprofit TLDs, hands-downs.org, .gov is a much safer bet, a very strong effect here. So .org, .gov is where to go, at least for the medical search tasks we tested out for reducing third-party data sharing. Conversely, .com, .net is a much less safe bet. We also looked at HTTP protocol, and this was converse to what we had expected. Quite interesting finding. Yeah, HTTP, those third-party data sharing is less with those. Looking at the larger 10,000 web domain data set, we see that nonprofit TLDs, again, it's there. And with commercial TLDs, the converse is again true. However, even though the findings are quite significant, the effect size is quite small. So p-value is not always enough. All right, going into the users, the categorical user search goals. So if you want highest privacy, look at, again, that's the lowest quartile of trackers. Here we use odds ratios, logistic regression and odds ratios, and we see that org.gov, not surprisingly, because it's the same data set as before, but just looking at this a different way. Jumping ahead to the correctness of information, the annotations, we see that that again, org.gov is the safe bet to go. No differences for top level domain on .com, .net, so it really doesn't matter. It's a wash one way or the other. HTTPS, on the other hand, we saw for third-party tracking, you should go to HTTP, but HTTPS, you're better off going to those websites for maintaining correctness of information. And combining these two together, really, if you want correct and highest privacy, you should go to .org.gov. That's the takeaway message. And with that, I thank you again for your time. The CHIIR and the travel grant for covering the cost of my trip to Vancouver, which obviously did not happen, but there were still expenses. The reviewers, as well as Clicks, who provided the data set for us, and ESRC, who has provided funding for my PhD.